We didn't have these issues when we had Bierman.
Right. Yeah. So you're telling me it's all about leadership.
Yeah, that was my days again. That was a huge win.
He's the one that said to me, I just want you to put that.
Okay. I was wondering which one treated with one of those.
On one hand, I wanted to kick it. The other hand, I was like, if he kicks it, Mahomes is going to take him down and score.
Is Rick coming?
Rick is going to be remote, maybe, or not here at all.
He's gone, isn't he?
Is this with your training unit? Was that from
Last year's. I just made it. I just barely made it. Yeah, it was nice. Yeah.
I remember Kelly. Pac-Man.
Waiting to get it on.
15 yards penalty. Perfect for back.
They're waiting on parts. They've ordered
All
parts.
right.
They're waiting on the parts to help.
Chad, you get the pledge with us?
Yes, sir.
Hey, good morning. Glad to see you all here this morning. This is our regular meeting of our Scott County Fiscal Court. I'd like to call it to order. I appreciate you all being here, and I'd like to ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Wallace is going to lead us this morning.
Let us pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, thank you all so much. Ms. Hamilton, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hostetler? You're
He's
muted.
muted.
It's okay.
Here.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Corman? Mr. Ellison?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Mr. Marshall?
Here.
Judge Covington?
Present. Appreciate that. Glad you all are here. We have a full agenda to address and a lot of good things to discuss. With that said, first agenda item that we're going to address is the minutes from the 12/22 and 1/7 meeting. Both of those have been presented to you. What questions or comments in regards to those minutes does anyone have?
Motion to approve is presented.
We have a motion from Mr. Lyons. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Corman, with the second and the hand gesture, beat you, Mr. Ellison. He's quick to the call there.
Quick draw on the
So we have a motion. We have a second.
Hey, Judge.
Yes, Mr. Thompson.
I wasn't part of the court on the 22nd, so do you want me to abstain from this?
Yes. But
Okay.
you were on the 7th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So let the record reflect that he's abstaining from approving the minutes on 12/22. So,
Judge?
yes, sir.
I was not there on the 22nd, so I'll abstain also.
Yes, sir. Stacy will make sure that's part of the record. With that said, then, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other question or comment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 5 is your transfers. Any questions or comments related to the transfers as presented?
Motion for approval.
Motion from Mr. Chad Wallace.
Second.
Second from David Livingston. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 6, bills as presented. Any questions or comments about any bill? Motion from Kelly Corman,
Second.
second from Chad Wallace. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, let the record reflect that Mr. Alvin Lyons completed his training unit
That was for last year. I
for
just
last
made
year.
underwire.
Yeah.
I was like, holy
Not
cow.
this year. Alvin's
Somebody's been to
overachieving.
work.
All right. Then number 8, simply let the record reflect that Sheriff Tony Hampton has submitted fees in the amount of $1,313,153.44, as well as property tax in the amount of $290,776.89. Any questions or comments there? They're busy down there, most definitely. And then number 9, let the record reflect that our county clerk, Rebecca Johnson, submitted fees in the amount of $145,801.21. Any questions or comments there? With that said, I'll go to number 10, and I'll ask Mr. Gaylord Van Gelder to step to the podium. Just give everybody a little background. We've emailed back and forth during the week, and earlier in the week, David and I met with Mr. Van Gelder and went through and discussed his proposal. And just to give a little background, I shared with him that I understand the struggle and the need for more places to practice is real. I myself, 3 sons, have drug them from one end of the universe to the other trying to find a place to practice when they were in that age group. And I did the field crew and yada, yada, yada. So the issue is real about more places to practice. Last year, Mr. Van Gelder came and asked on behalf of one team, but it's a little bit different when comes, and I think it's about 14 to 20 teams possible. And Mr. Livingston pointed out there's teams not listed in the proposal that he is aware of as well. So just giving background, we have a very nice facility. It's pretty new. We've tried to kind of phase it in and let it get its feet underneath it, but we're going into year 3. And if we have that much of a need, I think we need to consider the request. But still try to balance that with, taking care of the park and such. But you've done a lot of work and a lot of phone calls, and really respect that and appreciate it. Go ahead and address the court, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, first, thanks for allowing us to come out and talk about this topic today, and really appreciate your guys' service to this community. So, as Judge Executive Covington mentioned, I'm here representing a collective travel softball and baseball community here in Scott County, and I think this is the first time that we've really tried to organize this body, and it was much larger than I thought it was. We've got plenty, 20-plus teams represented. We've got 220-plus players, 80-plus coaches, and over 2,400 folks that support them. You'll notice in the presentation we use the term voters, and that was simply because constituents would make it a 2-line thing in the presentation. So it was, for lack of a better term, to make the presentation look good. But we've got a lot of folks involved, in the discussion with Judge Executive Covington and Magistrate Livingston, it was very clear that we're all on one team here. We're all here representing kids, and I think we want the best for the kids in our community. And the problem that we have is based on a kind of a national shift, right? This isn't unique to Scott County, although we have it in our county, and that is a shift to travel more competitive softball and baseball programs. And we're seeing that across the nation. Lexington's dealing with it, Louisville's dealing with it, and we're dealing with it as well. And so what that creates is a problem for us here in Scott County, where we don't have the field assets that we need to allow, these teams to practice on at least decent facilities. And so just to kind of create awareness around what the process is we as coaches will go work with the folks over at Parks and Rec Department who have been just awesome. Kim and her team over there have been great to work with, and they see the frustration firsthand. And so we'll go to them and we'll try to schedule field time through their systems, and we pay for that field time. But the reality is that if you're not part of the leagues, i.e. Scott County Youth Baseball or Scott County Softball Club, the fields are really restricted to the assets that Parks and Rec control or the school controls. And so if you look at those assets within Parks and Rec, you've got Holmes Field, which is the softball field. You've got Senior League Field 1, both of which are in the schools. They have the right to use it starting in October going through the end of their season, which is usually the end of May, early June, depending on how well they do. And then you got Senior League Field 2, which is available. But with all those teams, you got a lot of pressure on that one field. Within the Scott County Public School System, you have Ann Mason Elementary School, which was originally designed as a kickball field. And we've had a number of players get hurt playing on that field. It's not the best field. I understand that they have done some recent work to that field. I don't know what it looks like now. But that's an option. It's not a great option, but it's an option that we've been using. And then Lemons Mill Elementary School, great facility, right? You got a great baseball field over there and then a softball field on the left. But again, that's taken by the schools starting in October and wrapping up at the end of May or June, whenever their season may be. We've even explored the 2 softball fields out at Toyota. And I mean, we have to scratch for everything and every practice facility that we get. And so Toyota is a logistical and a financial challenge. Number one, you need to find an employee, if you don't work there, to sponsor you for a TMMK fitness membership. And then each family that represents that player has to join and have a membership to be able to use those fields. And that's just not feasible for us. And so as the judge had mentioned, we have Great Crossing and 4 state-of-the-art fields that we would like to use. And we too share the vision of wanting to preserve that for what the original intent was, which is to create economic development in our community through attracting tournaments, some of which we've hosted in our community. So the solution that we're proposing today and that we're asking the court to make a motion and vote on is to open up Great Crossing, the softball and baseball fields out there for private rental and usage. Now, what's critical for us is kind of 2 different things, right? So the maintaining of the integrity of that facility and those fields, and number 2, that it's whatever solution we come up with is a fair and equitable solution for everybody in the community. And so we'll talk about, should the court choose to approve the motion today, what next steps would be. But I would imagine we'd put together a working group to kind of create, how's this going to work? Who's it available to? When's it available? All the underlying details of how it would work. What's interesting is, the process that we use right now is we go to Parks and Rec to reserve the fields. Well, if you look in the reservation systems, Great Crossing's already listed. So it's a very easy to implement process that we're looking at here with systems and procedures that coaches as well as the county are already accustomed to working through. And so really the key benefits to approving this motion today is it solves a significant issue within our community that's only going to grow as time goes on. I think if you look back, 3 years or so, we probably have half the amount of teams that we have today. And this is a shift that's going to continue to grow in our community. And while I'm talking about that, I understand there is a phase 2 proposed for an additional cloverleaf out at Great Crossing. And because of this demand, I would, not here today, but I would ask the court to consider at a later date maybe taking that up to advance that initiative. And I think in our humble opinion, to maybe look at turf out there for a number of reasons. But hey, it's easy to implement. I know money is not it's not the driving factor of what we do. We have no paid coaches across any of these programs, and I know it's not critical for what we're talking about today, but it will create incremental revenue for the county, somewhere between $40,000 and $65,000, which can go right back into maintaining and improving the facilities out there. And then lastly, it's a softer point, but we develop more competitive programs here, which do two things. They feed into our schools, right? So our middle schools and our high schools are more competitive, locally, regionally, and within the state. It's a healthy outdoor activity that helps create normalcy in this crazy time. And so, that's really the ask. I think, as far as next steps go, if the court, should vote to approve this motion today, we'd like to assemble a cross-functional team of members from, the fiscal court, from Great Crossing Park Management, i.e. Tim Tevis, Parks and Rec, and then equal representation from the baseball and softball community to figure out how this thing would work in an equal and fair manner.
So thank you for your time. And, in our discussion in our office on, I guess we met Tuesday, looking at right now, we are committed to allowing our Parks and Rec, Scott County Youth, Scott County Softball, and Scott County Baseball. They use Tuesday and Wednesday right now.
Correct.
They have not completed their registration. They don't know how many teams they will need. Thus, there might be the possibility of slots on Tuesday and Wednesday being available to fill in for these teams. The other option, the other night, in my opinion, after talking with Tim, and I just want to go on the record, Tim has done a fantastic job of just willing that place and keeping it nice and getting it where we want it to be. And it's so many people that come in on the, and come to our facility. I get so many positive feedback about how nice a facility we have. So I want to just make note of that. And
couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And right now, from Tim, the end of March to the start of November, there is not a weekend that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is not reserved for tournaments. I mean, as we speak, and it's doing what we intend it to do. Tim has told me if we had phase 2, that facility would be heavily used as well. I'm going to ask Kim Rice in just a second to address the court about usage and Parks and Rec's, feedback on this. And then what I would propose, and I talked to Tim, that the court consider designating Monday nights, and then if there's any Tuesday or Wednesday slots left from youth softball or youth baseball, to designate those for scheduling purposes for this group of teams. So that's what I would propose right now. I would propose when youth baseball and youth softball are finished, start of June, whenever it is, that these teams that want to utilize the fields and want to continue to utilize the fields, that we transition to Tuesday and Wednesdays for that purpose and leave Monday and Thursdays open during the summer to try to, when it gets real hot, there's more pressure on it. And I think I would propose doing that as we transition and letting the teams schedule practices up through, whenever your season's over.
It's never over.
It's really never.
This is true.
But I think that's reasonable. I think that's giving an opportunity to the group that's making the request. And I couldn't agree more that we need to look at the possibility of how do we create more fields for possible usage, and that might be the second clover leaf that's been planned. We expended funds in phase 1 to do the grading work to get it ready, really to make it as easy as possible to build phase 2. So At this point, I'd like any comment or question from any court member, and I'll say just a couple more things. I think going forward, the fiscal court, I would ask Kim to help me as well, but I don't want to put it on Kim. We need to do some type of social media blast to make sure there's no teams that are left out that want consideration.
In Scott County.
In Scott County. I would propose that we ask the teams to give us a roster with names and addresses just to confirm that they're Scott County kids. And we really, my desire is to meet the need of Scott County kids. I don't want really a team that's got 2 kids from Scott County and 13 from other places. I don't think they should have a priority over the other teams. But we need to do a social media blast to collect names of teams that want to participate. And then after that, and we have to wait and get the numbers of our teams from Parks and Rec. And then we create a schedule, an equitable schedule. I'm going to put a former baseball dad. I'm going to propose to put Jared Holland on that to help me a little bit because he's had baseball. He's a baseball dad. But we create an equitable schedule. You mentioned in your proposal that you prefer an hour and a half slot where Parks and Rec utilizes an hour. If that's what you all want, it just knows that instead of having 16 slots, we got 12.
Sure.
But that, it is what it is. But on Tuesday and Wednesday, we'd have to keep it at an hour. Just to work with the Parks and Rec. But once summer comes, we want to switch to an hour and a half. That's no problem. I would say at the end of or the middle of May that we would reconvene and see what teams want to continue to practice to make a June, July, August practice schedule then. Put Jared back on that as well with you all.
Okay.
And then what questions do you all have? So I think I've tried to address.
I just want to give a little background from prior court when this was built and what the discussion was and all that. This issue's been going on for 20 plus years. It used to be there was not enough fields for Parks and Rec teams to practice. Then as the shift came to more travel teams and you have so much participation in travel teams, now it's shifted to where travel teams don't have enough fields to practice on. So I've had 3 daughters that have played rec. I've got 2 that still play travel ball. I've got 1 that's in college right now, so I've been doing this for a long time. And when we built this clover leaf, the intent was the intent's to finish it out. You never want to leave a project half done, and we're half done right now. Actually, I think we're less than half done because I think there are a lot of things for quality of life that need to be out there at that park. Not just baseball fields, softball fields, but also
we need a daggone playground.
We need we also need an amphitheater out there so you can have Shakespeare in the park and concerts and, there's a quality of life things that can be done out there. But it's a matter of, do the taxpayers want to pay for it? So that's a whole nother discussion on another day. But, it was a little bit of a battle to get that done. And the court had to step up and go, we're going to build this now. We're not going to wait. We're going to build it now. We need it now. It can help be a revenue generator, not just from practices, but from bringing teams in. And when we build the other 4 fields, you can only imagine what kind of tournaments can be hosted out there, especially if we do turf.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're talking about filling up hotels and stuff. You all have traveled, So when we built it, the one thing that we focused on was that we wanted to hire someone that specifically worked that area of Great Crossing Park from March to October, November. And then there are other things to do around the county that they can help with. And that was Tim Tevis because of his experience and background in kids playing and all that. And because if you look at other parks that are run by the boosters are fantastic and give up timeless, infinite amount of time for free. But they can't take care of the fields all the time. They're not there during the days. They're there when the kids are practicing and stuff, and they can't take off work, drag the fields, work the fields, seed the fields, and do all that. So you end up with parks that start becoming run down and then boosters rotate in and out. they're never there for 20 years. Whereas if you have an employee that can do those things, they're there constantly for you. So, you know, that's kind of an idea, and we wanted to let it mature and grow in. I've got 2 girls that play travel, and I've had to look our coaches in the eye and our parents in the eye and go, nope. And they're like, yeah, but you're a magistrate. Yeah, but I'm just like everybody else. I'm not taking advantage of that. You know, that park is too pretty right now. We need to let it mature, let it get to where it can handle some of it. And then also, I think we need to talk to Tim about what do we need to do as far as mounds. You know, you've got the portable mounds for baseball, but how do we keep the pitcher's mound from softball from ending up with a hole this deep by Thursday night? You know, what are the things we can do that can help maintain the integrity of the field so that our girls don't go out there and get hurt or our boys don't go out there and get hurt? So I guess the last thing is I agree. The next 3 fields need to be discussed. It is a need that we don't need to put off for another 10 years like we did previously. And then also talking about schedule, I mentioned this on the phone and we talked about it. There are teams that are not on this list that I said you can make everybody mad and not open it up, or you can make a few mad because you don't have enough spaces. So I think we're going to have to look at having a rotating schedule so that if somebody wants to be on it, there are going to be teams that are not being able to practice out there every week, just so we make it equitable for all teams that want to go out there.
Well, and I think that would be one of the outputs of that working group, you know, is to really fine tune, you know, how can we make this fair and equitable? Because obviously, you know, selfishly, you know, I want our team to be on there, but I recognize that, you know, we're going to have to fall in line with everybody else because it's the right thing to do for the community. Right. You know, secondly, I think you're spot on. I mean, if we were to build that phase 2, I mean, we would have a facility that would, I don't want to say rival E-Town, but it would probably be the second best facility in the state. And I mean, E-Town has done a fantastic job of attracting.
You know what the thing about E-Town is, though? E-Town's been handed over to a private management company because the city was losing way too much money on it.
Oh, yeah?
They were losing money. They want to talk about, we made money this year, but oftentimes governmental entities don't discuss the fact that it's bonded. And so we broke even this year, yeah, but you had to pay $2 million in bonding. So you actually went $2 million in the hole.
Yeah.
So yeah, they turned it over to a private management company because they could not keep enough employees. They just couldn't do it. Huh. So that's why you'll see the restrictions out there. At one point in time, I don't know if they've allowed it now, but they would not let Parks and Rec teams practice out there. But it was taxpayer dollars that built it.
Yeah.
So one.
Nobody's on it all week long. That stays
in E-Town, yeah, they don't. Yeah.
Because I said how to keep it so pretty.
Tim, if you want to come to the podium.
We went and looked at E-Town, and that was a question, because it's not perfect, nothing's perfect, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And I said, how do you keep this so nice? And she said, nobody is on this field except for the workers to maintenance all week. Weekends are booked. So that was kind of, you know, there's a trade-off. And I feel your pain. We've all been through that. So, but anyway, and I'm all for I would love for everybody to come practice all the time. And if we don't want to do tournaments, that's where you want to go, we could do that. It's completely up to you all, but it's what you build it for. But if we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and that's a good thing. I hate telling people no. As long as everybody's respectful and we can kind of work out the timing. And your hour and a half, do you do hour infield, half hour batting? Is that what you're...
It depends on what we're trying to achieve for the day. But
yeah. But you're knocking out 4 teams by doing that.
Yeah.
But you can go to the cages. You can do an hour infield, hit the cages, and still get an hour and a half. And let everyone... I mean... But
that might be something we can talk about. And I see what you're saying.
Absolutely.
And like warm-ups, like stretching the parking lot. And in the
well,
5
there's a
o'clock
field right
team,
across the street, a big open field right across.
Yeah, but stretch, throw, warm up, go in, hit for half an hour, and then you know you got that field for a whole hour.
You got the field for a whole hour. And we might have to talk about...
And that's what I'm saying, but that brings you 4 more teams on, just on whatever day you do get it. And course,
We've
we all
got
know the
two.
answer.
Yeah.
We've got 2 cages.
4.
We've got 4 cages. So they're
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I knew we had 2 long.
So everybody could do
Yeah.
that, you know, and then the Parks and Recs, I'm sure they wouldn't care on nights they're not using it. But the way that's going to work and the way it's worked in the past, if softball didn't use it, baseball would fill it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how, if they got priority on Tuesday and Wednesday, are they going to tell me if they can't fill it and then I'll call
No,
them?
like what we'll
How
do
we
is
gonna
we'll
set
count
that?
the teams from Parks and Rec, and then there's that many teams.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't fill up the slots, then any slots that are left, we'll dedicate to this group.
Yeah.
But we'll have to navigate with Kim, and Kim will have to help us, and we will. But I think we can work all this out in our next meeting. And we don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's not, I mean, we can do this and do it equitably and fair. The only thing that hasn't been mentioned, David and Gaylord and I talked about a field rental, just because it's extra use and that money going back into the Great Crossing Field supply to buy seed, fertilizer, blah, blah, blah. So Parks and Rec charges a $25 fee. We talk about a $30 fee. Let's just keep it even as Parks and Rec and say $25. If that's what we want to do, that's up to the court. Now, anything else you want to share, Tim?
Well, are you going 5 to 8 and finish at 9? What are you thinking?
Well, I think we need to talk about that, right? So that'd be one of the things that the working group would need to tackle.
And we
So
can-
with your
Well-
input, do we go from 5 and then, the last practice has to end at 9:30 or? So
I think we
just
need
gotta
to talk about it internally.
Yeah.
And come up with some of the guidelines we want to see in there.
Yeah.
And then because there are going to be some things that we say we're not going to move on. This is how it's going to be. Like my wife tells me.
Yeah. And the only reason I was asking that's for lighting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing that's really going to be a big
We can
thing.
schedule the lights.
Well, it's not a problem
we
scheduling.
we can work through all that. So what questions does the court have? And then I also want to have Kim address the court. And Kim, if you'll come on up.
The only issue I have, and I, if you ask me, we build a ton of fields, fields, gyms, whatever. The next group is going to work, youth basketball fills up in 5 minutes. So when they come in here asking for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we don't own any of those facilities right now.
I know you don't. I do, and I got to deal with them. But so we got youth basketball, youth football. All those people are playing. They're practicing on. Youth football is practicing on the baseball and softball fields. So, where's it end?
It doesn't.
Well, I know, but
I mean, it
I
really
just don't
doesn't.
want to give everything to this group when we got 2 or 3 other groups that are going to still have needs.
Well, the ask is, I think addressing a request from a group of teams, and we have the ability to address that ask now.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying, and I think we need to plan and look at, and I'm going to ask Kim just right now. Like, Kim, we have talked, and can you let the court know about the number of participants in youth softball, youth baseball, and then, we're addressing a need out at Lyle Road with youth soccer, trying to help there. But, you've talked to me about the need for more fields, that, it's just not going to go away. So I'll let you share a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So one of the things that I saw that it was in your presentation that was actually inaccurate is that we have 4 fields at Marshall and we have 4 fields at Suffaletta Memorial, not 5. So it's actually less fields.
So it's
than what-
actually, it's actually worse.
It's actually a worse situation. Last year, we converted Field 5 at Marshall, which was the adult softball league, or adult softball field, into a football practice field. Because, yes, that was an issue for football, too, and they were already using it during the football season in the outfield, which they're also using Senior League 1, which is the adult softball field now over at Brookings for practice. So we have, multi-use sports on our baseball and softball fields. For baseball, their registration numbers are typically around 350 pre-COVID. For softball, during COVID, it was like 250, but they're typically up around 300. So we're looking at, a little bit more than this group, but when you add in this group, we're looking at, 800 participants in the community, which is really huge, and you're talking about
It used to
teams.
be 900 in Parks
Yeah,
and Rec.
well, and you're talking about teams that we don't even know about.
Right.
So that's probably closer, it's probably right around
Right.
900 would be the best accurate guess. And we are focusing on Law Road Soccer Complex right now with building the amenities out there because they've never had anything, ever. Those fields out there have never been graded. They don't have any utilities, no lights, no sewer, no nothing.
Porta potties.
No, let's not talk about those because they're awful. But, their program typically runs about 1,200 kids. And so I applaud the court for moving forward with that project. It's been a need for a very, very long time. And, like Dwayne was saying, all of the youth sports organizations have a need. And it's tackling a little bit of time, and I'm very, proud of what they're doing. And I think this is a good option to be able to do that and still protect the fields as long as we keep that in mind. And if it doesn't if it stops working and you see that the fields are deteriorating, we may not have to backtrack a little bit.
I'll stop you right there. When it's a rain day, Tim has the final call on if we go or not. We'll have to do some mechanism to let everybody know, hey, we're rained out for the night.
And that's the role our maintenance manager places too. He makes the final call.
So I've drafted a field usage and rental agreement, which is about 4 pages long, and wanted to bring it to that working group.
Okay.
To fine tune.
And we'll do that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that we'll have to have some mechanism there.
It addresses.
Because Parks and Rec takes care of it for them, but we
Just
have to.
another, we've talked a little bit about, that next clover, and, it's a no-brainer to turf it, but by turfing it, you also allow other use, during bad weather, during whatever, football can practice on the thing, and if it's, whatever.
And if we built that other clover leaf, that would be something that we would look at.
Right.
And it also helps the school systems because if Great Crossing or Scott County or the middle schools have a game scheduled, and they could potentially avoid rainouts by playing on a turf field.
Absolutely.
So Kim and I have talked, and Kim, you would agree that the need for more fields is real.
It has been real since.
And it's not going away.
It's not going away.
You have shared with me that looking forward, we've addressed
And they don't want to.
2 items that were on your capital projects request list.
That's correct.
We've addressed Lyle Road.
Yes.
And we're trying as hard as we can to address the Legacy Trail.
That's correct.
We're going to wait and see how that comes out. But your third on your list was
There's additional ball fields, absolutely.
additional ball fields.
And that's consistent with what the community has asked for. In 2016, I did a community survey. Number 1 was trails. Number 2 was more ball fields. And number 3 was a soccer complex. And that could be due to those that participated, that they fell in that order. But trails is always number 1 in every community survey I've ever seen. So those would definitely address the top.
So would your board and you, are you all considering in your yearly budget request, the capital expenditure request, are you all considering requesting, like more ball fields as your next request possibly? I know that's up to the board,
That
not
is up
just
to the
you.
board, yes.
But is that a possible discussion for your
It
board?
absolutely is, yes. My Administration and Finance Committee actually meets next Wednesday, and it's got new board members on it, so we'll be bringing them in for their orientation. That is one thing that we're going to discuss.
Okay. Anything else from you?
I just wanted to give you an idea of how many rentals we do on the facilities that we have. In 2020,
Not counting Great Crossing.
Not counting Great Crossing. In 2021, we did 2,374 rentals.
How many?
2,374. And that's keeping in mind that when we schedule in like softball and baseball, it's blocks of time. We don't schedule every hour. We'll schedule it from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock. So that counts as 1, not 4, whereas when we're renting it, that would count as 1. So you can see the amount of usage that we get on just our softball and baseball fields. Some of this includes our multi-use field also, but it's a massive amount of administration work, about 28 hours a week for our administration staff to schedule field usage. And it's not enough. It's not enough to meet the needs of the community. So.
Okay. Any questions from the court or comments? Anyone from the court?
I have a comment.
Rick up there,
go ahead.
too.
Oh, go, Rick.
Go ahead, Rick.
Just two quick questions, maybe for Tim. One of them is, and it sounds like maybe I missed this. I think you said it. Are you trying to have 1 or 2 days of downtime with no action on the fields, trying to get them to, what's that look like?
Well, initially we set it up so the Mondays after a tournament, I could come in and fix everything that was tore up from the weekend and cleaned it up real well. Tuesdays and Wednesdays we practiced, and it was all younger kids, so they didn't hurt it too bad. And then that gave us Thursday to get it ready for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Does that make sense? And clean up from everything. So, the biggest problem with this, it's just like, it's a lot of traffic. It's going to change the look of the park because it's a lot of traffic. And put it in perspective, it's like if you've got a boxer in your backyard in Canewood, you're fine. But you get 3 boxers in your backyard in Canewood, it doesn't matter how much you go out there and rake up, your grass is going to look like a mud pit. So we got to be careful, and that's kind of what you got to consider.
So Rick, we'd be looking at 1 Thursday nights off, but everything else. But then when summer comes, we'll go back to Monday and Thursdays off, Tuesday and Wednesday for this group after youth baseball and softball is over. So does that answer your question?
It does, but one other comment. So I know part of the problem too, correct me if I'm wrong, is getting that field to mature. I know it's new still. I know the grass is still setting in. I guess my question is, will that change those 2 days? I understand the Monday after the tournament weekend. That makes sense. Do you think it'll ever change for Thursday, or you just going to kind of need to keep those 2 days to do what you just said, Tim?
Well, to be honest with you, there was a big difference in using it for the 2 days of practice with teams on it as far as keeping the outfields as pristine as you would like. And there's a reason that E-Town lets nobody on it during the week. And if you sow new grass and you walk on it every other day, you're not going to get grass. And so, and these are things, I don't know, maybe we go out there every so often and plug in new sod in these fields, because I can water and make it look nice, but it's just a lot of maintenance, and the more traffic you have, the more it's going to change the appearance of the park. And like I said, if we're building it to bring people in because it's a nice park and they want big tournaments, it books. I put everybody off till the first week of December is when I book, and I sit down, it's booked before I ever sit down. So it's not a question of booking it. If you build another one, we can book that one too. And that'll pull in a ton of money, but you just got to decide which way you want to go. Are we, is it?
Yeah. And at this point, I support the proposal of Monday nights and then Tuesday and Wednesdays, if there's extra slots out, and then transitioning. So what else, Rick?
One other question, and thank you, Tim, for that, and that explains it to me. The other question I have maybe be for Kim. How many of the youth are actually kind of crossing over? They're on the travel teams, and they're also on the youth league teams.
I don't think I would know that answer.
I don't think anybody travel. I don't think anybody crosses over, Rick, because like my kids are practicing right now. Travel ball. We drive to Pleasureville, Kentucky, if you'd like to know, for practice. It's in Shelby County.
There's actually a ton of Scott County kids that go everywhere else, and not, they're on other teams. They're on licensed Louisville.
But also keep in mind, we do have select leagues that fall under the umbrella, or select teams that fall under the umbrella of both Scott County Youth Baseball and Scott County Softball. The baseball is new. This is the first year.
Well, the select would be Red Heat, right?
No, that's still rec.
Okay, who falls under the? I didn't know anybody was doing that anymore.
Maverick.
When the Mavericks is for baseball, I don't know who it is for softball off the top of my head.
Now
It's been a while since I've been on that.
That was one concern, because you mentioned, that you're all not paid. Most of your group is, just a bunch of dads having teams or whatever. But there are the paid coaches, there are the Nucci Varnies, there are the, so are they involved in this?
I think that gets worked out in the working group.
Yeah, and I think most of their teams are older, I believe, and
I
won't.
think they go all the way down.
Well, I think they go all the way down.
Middle
but
school at least,
they've got
elementary.
Well, but middle school is you can't play out there; it's too small. Fields are too short.
Right. Yeah. There.
Yeah. So I mean, that's you can only.
Well, and
Right.
for our youth sports organizations, we do not tell them they cannot pay their coaches. Like with soccer, their select league pays their coaches. With our swim team, their coaches are paid. With our volleyball, the select leagues, coaches are paid. But for all of the rec teams and rec leagues, they're not paid. So there's nothing in our youth sports agreement that limits our youth organizations from having paid coaches on their roster.
So we'll put out a call. We'll see who responds. My concern is the majority of the kids being from Scott County.
Yeah.
And being able to address that.
What is that number? How you gonna?
What that's an internal discussion.
Yeah. So, Alvin, you had a question.
Well, you just touched it again, and my concern was these teams draw from multiple counties, and we don't want Henry County coming here to practice like you're going to Pleasantville. We want to make it the focus for Scott County. That was my.
And we'll let you all navigate that, but the majority of kids need to be Scott County kids.
Yeah. Can I stick on that?
Absolutely.
So, I think it's prudent that as a body, we look at maybe some next steps, and one would be possibly putting some turf or artificial grass on our existing fields to maximize the amount of time that we can utilize it. I think that's something that we need to consider. But I also think, to follow up to Dwayne's point, it's important, and I want just a disclaimer, I don't have no kids that play soccer, but I do.
Tennis.
But to that point, Judge, tennis courts have lights, our baseball fields have lights, our football field have lights. Soccer, who's got the largest group, do not have lights. And I think it's our responsibility to provide lights for them prior to looking at building a new sports complex. I'm not saying I'm not for a new baseball field. I'm just saying I think that in our priority list, that's something that we need to consider.
I can reach out to Kurt Mickey and get a dollar figure on that.
Sure.
He will be glad to talk.
Yes, he will.
So point taken, and I think my intent is to, and I've asked Dwayne for a little assistance because Dwayne worked very closely during the construction of Great Crossing High School with some vendors on artificial turf surfaces. So I'm going to reach out and look at, what would be a ballpark to bring to this body about building fields in the Phase 2 area. And what you've just asked me to do is how much would it cost to just put turf at our existing fields? And you can compare and contrast.
Yeah.
What other questions does anybody have?
I don't have a question. And this is not directed to anybody in the room unless you know somebody. We were in E-Town last week at Bluegrass Sportsplex, and I don't know if anybody has been there, but that place you can play soccer, basketball, volleyball. They've got like 10 lanes for pitching, hitting. It's privately owned. So if there are any private equity groups, any investment groups,
I've been trying to get people to do that for.
I mean, it just makes, hearing this morning just makes sense for somebody to do. I'll put the first $500 in.
All right. For the sake of time, if there's no other questions or comments, is there a motion just to
Do we
put
have to
this?
have a
Can I
motion?
say something real quick?
Hey, Tim Thompson. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
Yes. Good morning. I will make a motion, but I'd like to just say a couple things real quick if you don't care.
Oh, absolutely.
First, I'd like to thank Mr. Van Gilder for the presentation and the different emails that I've received from different people. Got a lot of friends that kids play sports, and some of them are in that room right now. I wish I could be there with you guys. Just hearing this, I think it shows the need that we have. I mean, even, I don't know what the time frame is for the second phase or what that was initially, but just listening to everybody, I think that doing that second phase sooner than later helps solve some of these other issues that we have with some of these other sports, because if they're turf, then other sports can utilize those. Just over the last 15, 20 years at the firehouse at Station 3, right there at Marshall Park, I've seen the growth of softball, and I've seen on Saturdays and Sundays. I mean, it is packed, and it's exciting to see the kids doing this. Our job is, public safety, number one, and then quality of life, and being able to do stuff like this is exciting for me. I fully support this. Is there a way, Judge, you think that maybe we could work with Toyota to try to see if we could work out something to where they could still help out possibly? I don't know how often their fields get used, and I could understand why they would want to limit that strictly to Toyota, but do you think that we'd have a relationship to possibly be able to work with them to be able to see if they could help as well?
I don't mind asking, and I've often said don't mind making people tell me no. So we can certainly run that up the flagpole for that. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion.
What are you making a motion on, though?
Yeah,
So
I think this is administrative.
I would say the motion is.
I think it's an administrative duty. This
you all
is
get
just
together,
talking
yeah.
about scheduling stuff. I don't,
Right.
because what I'm afraid, if you make a motion to do it, then if we run into an issue, we have to make a motion to take it away.
David, for Scott County Youth Baseball, you made a motion to add 2 days for practice, so this would be adding a third.
Well, but it wouldn't be for youth baseball.
I know, that's
it
the motion
would-
you made for youth baseball.
I know, but that's part of Parks and Rec, though. Yeah, it's governmental entity. It is part of a governmental
I know,
entity.
they don't get money from it,
So-
but go ahead.
Well,
Actually,
but
they do.
They do, and they actually have to report to them and give them their audits and all that. So that makes them part of a governmental entity. I think as far as public use, I would prefer, and we can do it either way, but I would prefer that we make an administrative structure of scheduling times out there for, because we don't make a motion to allow each tournament to happen. It's scheduled through Tim, and I think that's the way we can handle this, instead of making a motion to allow a private group to use it and then have to take that away down the road.
Yeah, I don't want to be micromanaging anything. I mean,
No.
The overall use by Scott County
So-
kids is what we
We
want.
own it,
Yeah.
whatever.
So,
But if you would like to go out there and talk to the court, that's fine.
I actually suggested that, but I don't think it's appropriate now.
So with that said, I think the best thing to do is any court member has a right to make a motion.
Sure.
And a second, and then we vote on it. Tim, I would propose that I instruct Jared and Tim Tevis to coordinate with the group of coaches and just simply schedule Monday nights and set up an equitable way to do that. And that and then also coordinate with Kim any open spots on Tuesday and Wednesday that we could slide you all into there, and then we come back to the table in middle of May and do another set of schedule for Tuesday and Wednesdays for any team that wants to do that. So if someone wants to make a motion, I'm certainly not going to say that you can't do that, but I think we're all in agreement to do what I've just talked about doing, and it's on the record. See, it's there. So, Tim, if you want to continue with that motion, you certainly have that right. If you want to withdraw it, you can do that as well.
I withdraw the motion. I'm still the new kid on the block. I'm still learning my way through here. But
Me too, brother.
As long as these kids get a practice, and we're heading in the right direction, I think.
And Kim, I know that you're often a one-legged woman in a butt-kicking contest, but if you could help us on the side of youth baseball and softball,
Absolutely. I
just
have a meeting with them this afternoon.
getting our numbers together and communicating back and forth, And then, I'll lean heavily on you to, I'll put out a social media blast if you'd share it as well, and then we'll go from there. But I think we moved in the right direction. I think we're meeting the needs of our community, and I appreciate everybody's time. All right.
Can I bring up something on that, if you don't mind? Baseball?
Absolutely.
Well, we got all these people here, the players. I have 5 grandchildren as well. I'm under the impression that the Bob Leonard batting cage facility's got some structural problems. Is anybody aware of that? Yeah, like, you're not aware?
It's not structural, it's insulation.
Well, anyway, they've got some problems, and I play golf.
That's a city facility.
Oh. Well, anyway, since we got people out there watching TV, maybe we can call whoever you know. Bob Leonard told me he had to work a lot just to get volunteers to pay for that structure. Now that's in need of some repairs, which I don't know how intense, that people might help them do that. If Parks and Rec doesn't have the money, or you all don't have the money,
Well,
I'm just letting people know.
I'll ask Kim if she can address it.
Well, I just didn't know how many people were.
Yeah, thank you. Now, moving on down, Sheriff Fee Estimate 2021 Budget Report. Michelle, can you step forward? And Tony's here, and appreciate you all being here. Hey, thank you all again.
Judge, I don't have anything to do with the sheriff fee adjustment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Estimate.
I'm
I'm
in the wrong.
I'm salary cap.
Yes. Sheriff Fee Estimate 2021 Budget Report.
Rand just reads it.
Rand just reads that. I'm sorry. But the next part you do, Michelle.
Let's see, receipts year to date, 2021 fee account budget estimate, $1,918,650. Book balance excess fees, $1,918,650. Federal grants, $13,000. Finance and administration, $180,000. Cabinet human resources, $2,000. Arrest fees, $1,000. Court order payments, bond forfeiture, $1,000. County clerk delinquent taxes, $60,000. Commissions on taxes collected, $1,550,000. Auto inspections, $18,000. Accident police reports, $1,500. Serving papers, $70,000. CCDW, $16,000. Miscellaneous reimbursements, $1,000. Courthouse fees, $5,000. Interest earned, $150. Total revenues, $1,918,650, which is also total receipts. Is that the end of it? Looks like.
Yeah, just the first page is fine, the big number.
I went too far, didn't I? You can always tell me, shut up, Stan.
So with that said, that's presented for the record as an estimate, and we need a motion to accept as presented. Motion from Alvin Lyons, second from David Livingston. Any other questions or comments?
Comment. It keeps going up every year.
We like it. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, I did jump ahead there. Sheriff's salary cap, and we have Michelle here. Michelle met with staff from the sheriff's office, and Michelle, go ahead.
Stacy, is this something that Rand would read, that first sheet? Okay, and I'll answer any questions that you might have in regards to that.
The big difference in the document that you're seeing is, in the past, we presented wages only. At this time, we are presenting wages, benefits, and
retirement and FICA.
Retirement and FICA.
Right.
So that is the difference in the document that you see. Currently, for 2021, $2.89 million was the wages only. And to give you an idea, we're estimating at $2.9,264,048 for wages only. Then you add in that retirement and FICA, it gets it to $4.23, $439.06.
Actually,
now,
the wages only for the 2022 would be 2.95.
Okay, maybe I have a
That's okay. I just.
I printed off the
Oh, that's okay.
wrong one.
Yeah, we round it to.
But
round it up.
you do have, we need to make a motion and need to get this passed today because there's a deadline to turn it in. You do have the figures there for your personal, to be able to look at it and consider as well, if you'd like, a 2% raise, 3% raise, or a 50-cent raise. David even brought up in an email, and David, I'll let you speak to it, but, inflation's pretty hard. And
Well, I think we need to look at where we've come from to where we are, and then take inflation into account of and receipts. I mean, that's important too. What
I'm
are
sure
we?
As we go through the budget process, setting the budget process for fiscal year 22-23, we normally get more into depth with that, but usually just the salary cap is something that we.
And we can amend it.
Right. Oh,
we can amend it, and going through the budget process, we can address that. So if there's no other questions or comments, is there any other? I'll ask Rand to read the order.
Annual order setting maximum amount for deputies and assistants pursuant to CARES 64.530 sub 3. The fiscal court shall fix annually the maximum amount, including fringe benefits, which the officer may expend for deputies and assistants. The fiscal court of Scott County, in compliance with state law, hereby sets the maximum amount which the sheriff of Scott County may expend from fees during the calendar year 2022 at $4,315,000 for deputies, assistants, and other employees. The maximum amount as said includes all amounts paid from fees for full-time salaries and wages, overtime wages, part-time salaries and wages, vacation and sick leave, health insurance, insurance other than health, employer match, Social Security and retirement, or other.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion to accept as presented?
Motion.
Motion from Alvin Lyons.
Second.
Second from David Livingston. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. With that, next we'll read the clerk's fee estimate as we did for the sheriff's fee.
Top page.
Only? All right. Summary and reconciliation of all accounts. Beginning balance, $19,437,104. Total disbursements year to date, $17,619,865. Projected clerk fees 2022, $1,817,238.
Any questions or comments?
I do.
Yes.
Judge Covington, members of the court. Excuse the mask. We're experiencing a lot of incidents with COVID currently in our office, so I'm going to have respect for the people in attendance of the meeting. I'm going to keep this mask on today. So let me know if you can't hear me clearly with the mask on. We did turn over close to $2 million in the 2021 year. So you might think this is a conservative estimate, the $1.8 million projected for 2022. And it is. We try to stay conservative because we never want to overpromise and underdeliver. But I just wanted to make this comment. We do feel that number of close to $2 million, the 1.996504, that we do feel that's somewhat high because in the 2020 year, as you know, there were some extensions on registrations and so forth, and we don't feel that we saw all of our regular volume of customers coming in to do registrations. So we think that that number for 2021 may be a bit elevated. And so that's why we projected the $1.8 million for the 2022 year. So I just wanted to comment on that. Of course, that can be amended, at some point if we find it's necessary, if it's an overprojection. We don't think it's an overprojection, but I've worked with our bookkeepers, and, we feel that's a good number. We hope to over-deliver, but we wanted to stay somewhat conservative because of the unusual nature of the past 2 years. Okay?
Any comments or questions? There's a motion to approve as presented. Motion from Kelly Corman.
Second.
Second from Tim Thompson. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move to the county clerk's salary cap. Michelle and Rebecca, certainly welcome to make comment. Looking at the line item there, 2021 revised budget wages only was $882,000. If you look at budget for 2022 wages only, correct me if I've got the right addition, but what I have is 878, 938, 78, which actually is a reduction. And the question was made that, why is that a reduction? You're not reducing staff. Well, the reason for that, and please, Michelle, you comment. We had a long-term employee that had a higher wage retire, and that employee was replaced with a new employee that came in at an amount that was less.
That's correct.
So that is what it is. It's not a reduction in staff. That's the reason for it. What else would you like to comment on, Michelle?
That should answer any question with wages only. The rest is, the additional, of course, is going to be the retirement expense and the FICA included in.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Rebecca, you have any comment or question? All right. With that said, is there a motion to accept as presented after Rand reads the order?
Annual order setting maximum amount for deputies and assistants pursuant to KRS 64-530 sub 3. Fiscal court shall fix annually the maximum amount, including fringe benefits, which the officer may expend for deputies and assistants. Fiscal court of Scott County, in compliance with state law, hereby sets the maximum amount which the county clerk of Scott County may expend from fees during the calendar year 2022, $1,175,000 for deputies, assistants, and other employees. The maximum amount as set includes all amounts paid from fees for full-time salaries and wages, overtime wages, part-time salaries and wages, vacation and sick leave, health insurance, insurance other than health, employer match, Social Security, and retirement, or other.
Questions or comments? Is there a motion to accept as presented?
So moved.
Chad Wallace with the motion. Second by Alvin Lyons. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, number 15, Detention Center surplus. Who would speak to that? JR
Wake up.
can speak to it. JR came and saw me and had spoken with our jailer.
Yes.
But you are our expert on evaluating vehicles.
Talked to Jailer Broyles. We had a vehicle that he didn't want to keep in the fleet. A couple of months ago, he brought it out, and we didn't want to spend a lot of money on it. So we decided to just park it, surplus it. And Lincoln County was very interested in it when they saw it. Sheriff Hampton had did some surplusing to them, so they wanted it. I give the information to Stacy, and
But the difference is, with the sheriff, we surplus and
yes,
donated. This
they,
is not.
no, they agreed to give $375 for it.
Okay.
Yes, we told them we couldn't give it to them
Okay.
since it belonged to the detention center. I'm sorry.
What questions would anyone have? And I guess the proposal is to surplus. And
what is it?
It's a 07 Ford Crown Vic.
Yes.
Oh, come on, the Crown Vic.
With 100+ way over 100,000 miles, and it's got some rust issues, but they're going to use it as a backup car. They're a little bit less fortunate at Scott County is, so that's a good car to them.
So my question is, should the motion be to surplus it and sell it to Lincoln County? All right.
Surplus, and I
Just
guess
the
the detention
surplus.
center takes care of the administrative part of it, right?
All right.
Motion, Judge.
All right.
Motion.
We got a motion from Rick Hosteller and a second from down here. I think it was,
I'll do it.
all right, Dwayne Ellison with the second. Any questions or comments other than that?
Unrelated to that, but I do have a question. I don't know if Jerry or Darren's not here, but just in the detention center.
Thanks, JR.
Have we started the litter pickup again, or do we have any idea when that might happen?
When it warms up.
Kelly,
I've had a couple people call me lately and ask about it. I just thought about it while we were talking about the detention center.
I'll ask the jailer
When were
if he
you,
can come.
Jerry, when were you thinking about our guys going out again on that? Because we got to do it before spring, right? We got to hit them before spring.
Before mowing season, that's not else, so JR. Before mowing season.
Like February or something like that? No?
Yeah, it'll be soon, because we did get our money in for litter abatement funds.
Gotcha, okay, good.
So we've got a motion and a second, and then Kelly will ask the jailer to give feedback on the litter abatement crews. So we have
We
a
can just get
motion.
some few little spots, you know?
A motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Judge Covington, Darren asked if he could do his new hire right here.
Sure,
Since we're talking about the jail.
We'll move that and do the new hire.
Humphrey's here for that.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Captain Humphrey. I'm the Chief Deputy Jailer for Scott County, of course. Jailer Broyle sends his compliments. First, I'd like to thank the judge for his support regarding an emergency hire we had. It was a previous full-time lieutenant who came back. He left fairly recently, but he had some family medical issues. He was able to resolve them quicker than he thought. He wanted to come back. And it helped us because he knows what he's doing, obviously. We would respectfully request that you allow us to hire Deputy Matthew Hedger. He from part-time to full-time. Director Mudrack indicated to me that it'd be about $16.07 an hour. And it'd be one of the full-time positions. I think I'll still leave us 2 holes, I think, in the full-time roster.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Make a motion.
Motion from Mr. Ellison.
Okay.
Second.
Second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments?
I was just going to simply say regarding the trash crews, et cetera, it has been very disappointing. We've not been able to get them out. State, of course, has pretty much bound our hands a little bit in terms of what we can do, what we can't do with the state inmates. At the present time, I've got 4 out of 11 of my pods that are COVID positive, and I've had a number of staff members also test positive. You all probably know I was in the hospital back in December. I was in for about a week. Well, I guess I don't know if I'm back to normal, but I'm as normal as I normally am, if that makes sense. So at the same time, we'd like to, again, we appreciate the judges and your all's assistance in this matter. If there's any, you all have any crazy questions, nothing's too crazy. Believe me, that's what I do for a living.
So let me add to this before we make a motion. We had a motion and we're going to vote on that, but I have to add where we had a situation, and I talked to Jeff and a request from the jailer to do the emergency hire just because we're having COVID issues and staffing issues. So we also need to approve for the record the hiring of Eric Wiley as well.
Right.
So there's a motion and a second for Mr. Hedrick. Any other questions on that? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So adding to the record, just the approval of the court and really ratification of the hiring of Eric Wiley. What was his starting salary or his salary?
$16.97 an hour.
So the record should reflect $16.97 an hour. And he was hired as he's a former employee, very well qualified and certified as well. So is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Dwayne Ellison. Is there a second?
Second.
Second with Alvin Lyons. With that said, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments about Mr. Wiley's hiring? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're good.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now, with that said, we'll turn to EMS.
Judge, Magistrates, on behalf of Chris Runyon, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Chris Weichel as a full-time EMT. Right now, he's currently working on a part-time basis, has been with us since September. The appointment to full-time status will be effective January 22nd at a pay rate of $11.99 an hour.
Okay, before there's a motion or a second, I'd like to bring the whole court up to speed. This morning, the Budget Committee did an impromptu meeting and met with Chris and Jeff. And we're going to do a little bit more research, a little bit more discussion, but our EMS department continues to struggle with turnover. And it's about 33%. We're going to look at some more data, but then come back to the court on the 27th and report, and I'm sure we'll email between now and then to give everybody an update, but we have to do something between now and that next meeting to try to address and help the issue there. They're short right now, but they anticipate some turnover coming up that Chris has, talked with staff, and he feels like he's going to have some additional turnover coming up, and it's just a tough time. And it's not as much the salary as it is just the wear and tear and just fatigue, many hours of overtime and such. So we'll bring that back to the court to discuss, but now you all know about the situation. So did we have a motion? All right, I said I was going to ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Dwayne Ellison, second from Chad Wallace. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Construction Administration Service Soccer Complex. Element Design, the proposal, I feel like it's, this is a proposal to conduct monthly progress meetings, provide notes, coordination, address issues, issue architect supplemental instructions, proposal request drawings, review pricing or pay applications, coordination with us, Scott County government, review submittals and shop drawings, provide a monthly field report during construction, and substantial completion, final completion, punch list review. They are our eyes and ears there, as well as, that's from Element, but they also need Staggs and Fisher to provide coordination, address issues, architect supplemental instructions, review pricing and pay applications, review submittals and the punch list as well. Their fee, so the fee for Element would be $7,000. The fee for Staggs and Fisher would be $2,000, and I would recommend this proposal be accepted. We need this coordination and oversight. Once we come back on the 26th and open bids for the building, we're hopeful that we'll get a reduced dollar amount on bids on that building once we change some of the scope of the work in the building. But I would come back and ask for your approval on phase 2, and it's pretty much the same thing for the scope of the building. What questions or comments does anyone have for me in regards to this request?
When does that go out to bid, the building part?
The building's already out to bid.
It is already out.
Out to bid. And we actually pushed the bid opening back a little bit to the 26th because requests from vendors, evidently we had originally scheduled it for the 20th, but there was like a project at UK that was a conflict. And we felt like we'd get more, Ramona from Element felt like we'd get more bids, hopefully, if we pushed it back to the 26th.
So we're little brother to UK, that's what you're telling me.
Probably so.
What's the difference between construction administration? Is that what it is? Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay, and construction management?
I can't, I think they're one and the same.
Nothing, because construction administration seems a whole lot cheaper than construction management.
Heck yeah.
David,
But you're talking about the size.
for
Yeah.
them to manage the finances in and out,
And
like the bills.
Well, but I was looking in here and it also.
Inspections. Construction management, you got somebody on site that's
Okay.
doing.
Because I mean, like
inspections.
it talked about the final punch list, it talked about
I just,
field
they're
surveys.
reviewing
and-
what's done. It's I think one and the same, but they're not there every day.
This is
Right,
a pretty cheap number.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas when you're building a substantial, like a justice center, you need somebody there every day.
Right.
Over it. So, it's my recommendation to accept this proposal.
Motion for approval.
Motion from Chad Wallace. Is there a second? Kelly Corman with a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Indigent burial space and funding. We've discussed this, and I have once again touched base with Harlan Wilson and Mr. Bolt from Johnson Funeral Home, and they are supportive of the resolution, the fact of the $750 contribution from the Scott Fiscal Court towards indigent burials or cremation, whatever that choice might be. The one question that was asked of Alvin asked is, will they continue to provide the indigent burial at a reduced rate? And the answer is yes, but with everything else, the cost with inflation, cost has to go up a little bit, but they will pledge to continue to offer a indigent burial at a reduced rate from what the normal rate would be. I don't think that needs to be in this resolution, but be certainly willing to answer any questions or comments from anyone on the court.
Joe, I probably should have asked this a long time ago, but what's the city's role in this?
We are in an interlocal agreement with the city, and they are the managing partner of the Georgetown Cemetery. That facility has provided the space for indigent burials. That's been where it happens. Right now, as we speak, there is no more room in the Paupers Field.
Right, I get it.
There. So with that conversation, it's kind of brought this back up, and I felt like it was time to make a move.
No, I'm fine with all that.
But the city does not.
If it's a city resident, does it matter? If it's a county resident? So
it's been a long-standing practice of the fiscal court to provide for indigent burials.
And now that it's not going to Georgetown Cemetery, they're still not going to have any, we're still just going to carry the load?
I have not asked them to
And that's fine. I
Yeah.
just, it seems like an interlocal agreement would be interlocal.
Well, I can certainly bring it up during budget conversations. And I think that's fair, Dwayne. I just didn't go.
No, I'm fine. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the right thing to do, but it's the right thing to do on both sides.
Yeah. And I'll make it a point to add that to the interlocal discussions. So I'll ask Rand to read the draft.
Stacy, is this 2201?
Yes.
Scott County Fiscal Court Resolution 22-01, a resolution establishing funds for pauper burials. Whereas there are at times citizens of the county who pass away without sufficient means to secure a proper burial. Whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court is committed to making sure the citizens of the county receive a proper burial. Now, therefore, the Scott County Fiscal Court does hereby resolve as follows. The Scott County Fiscal Court shall pay up to $750 towards the burial of any Scott County resident who is deceased if the estate and/or family of the deceased lacks funds to pay for a burial. The deceased may be cremated or buried in a lot designated by or agreed to by the Scott County Fiscal Court. Requests for county-paid burial expenses shall be completed and submitted to the county judge executive by the Scott County coroner, the decedent's family, or other representative of the decedent. So resolved, assuming you do this 14th day of January 2022.
So sitting here reading that and listening to it, one thing popped in my head. We are required by KRS, any unidentified indigent person that passes in Scott County, if they remain unidentified, we are required by KRS to bury them. Can we add a sentence saying that we will pay the pauper's burial expense for unidentified individuals per KRS.
You don't have an option.
I mean, should we
I mean,
have-
well, I mean, it's I don't see anything wrong with putting it in there. It's KRS. You got to do it either way.
So if you don't think we need to add it, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Judge, if we, it sounds like the statute covers that. I'm wondering if we just say in here somewhere, you know, for decedents who are identified.
That's fine.
Notwithstanding any KRS.
So is everybody good with that amendment? Al?
I just had a question. The first two whereases refers to burial, and then the therefore says burial or cremation. I was just wondering, should the whole thing say burial or cremation, because you're kind of contradictory in the way it reads. I know what it's meaning to say, but.
And or cremation.
And or cremation.
Okay.
And the title and the first two whereases to make it match the therefore we're going.
We gotta get our whereas aligned.
Yeah.
You good with that?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll make that change.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to accept as amended? Motion from Kelly Corman, second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Stacy, I'll make those changes and get that to you.
So, with that said, new business. I have shared, and Tim and Rick, I'll make sure that we email this to you after court. Jared, I asked Jared to do it, but I wanted to put in front of you a draft of a solar ordinance that I'm going to bring back to you on the 27th for your consideration. I think it's time that we make sure we move forward with addressing the issue of magistrate lines. This has been on his mind for a while, and I think it's time that we need to address it. The only thing that we need to find a way, and Alvin, I'll ask you to speak to it, is the ground cover issue.
Yeah, Jared has put together several of these ordinances from across the state, and one of them included, and I haven't gone back to see which one, a requirement in their ordinance that the ground cover be maintained vegetative, not you can't gravel the whole site, because that way, when the thing comes out, you don't have all the gravel to get rid of. So that I think that should be added. That's not in this. The one we've got in front of us here is one I think Fitz put together. I don't think it's in this one, but it is something we need to add. And the reason I'm so concerned about this, the federal government is throwing tons of money at these things. I mean, tons of money. It's not going to matter whether it's economically viable or not. They get the thing built, they sell it, and then who knows if they're going to be there 5-10 years from now or not. Somebody's got to get rid of that mess if they're not. So I want to protect the county in that case, and also want to protect the landowners. And it is time to move this, because I had a call this past week from a company asking about one of my farms. Now, I know that I'm not the first one. I know there's been others out there. So it's something we need to move on quickly, and we may need to amend it later as we go, but we need to get something started.
Question, Dave.
And I have not read this yet, but do you know if others are doing like bonding?
Yes.
So that if it gets abandoned, that there's cleanup money available.
Planning and zoning talked about that when they were here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big part of these, and the bond needs to be reviewed regularly, because
Right.
these companies, when they get them built, they sell, they move,
Right, you
know.
have to look forward,
Yeah.
you know.
It's,
I guess my question is too, what role does planning and zoning need to play, if any, in this? I don't know the answer to that, but just, I read this.
Permitting part of it, I mean, they would be a part of.
I mean, does this need to be part of the planning document, comprehensive plan, or?
Yeah, do they need to vote on, do the planning commission vote on, I don't know, but it's a
I'll get
question.
with Joe Kane, or Jared and I will, and ask that, but I just wanted to put it on the table that on the 27th, we're going to bring back a draft. The draft put together by the Kentucky Resource Council, I think, is the one we should go with, and add the language about the ground cover, and if we need to, about bonding and what's reasonable. So I just want to. Yes, sir.
One comment about planning and zone on the comp plan. The first committee meeting is, I believe, January 20th. So for that, going over the comp plan for this
Okay.
5-year update. That starts January 20th, I believe.
You are correct, sir, Luck. No action on this. I just wanted to address it. I am going to ask for, Mike Hennigan and I and Jared met this week with representatives of the Gathering Place mission and also Transform Scott County, trying to address. Mike had been struggling and trying to do social media posts, trying to find people that would be willing to work the cold weather shelter. We tried to open our cold weather shelter, and we did. We manned it with our part-time staff from EMA, but it's just not feasible to continue with that. The Gathering Place, we had worked with them last year. They had a different director. We could never just couldn't get staff hired. And our cold weather shelter, Mike handled primarily through his own staff. The Gathering Place is willing and has a staff member, a couple of staff members that are willing to do this. The criteria would still be the same, where we pay if it's below 20 degrees, and we would pay up to 2 staff members $12 an hour while it's open. For a variety of reasons, the Gathering Place has a new spot that is available on their campus off of Bourbon that would meet the needs of men and also women and children. The only change that I'm asking you all to consider and possibly approve is moving the site from the Presbyterian Church to the Gathering Place site on Bourbon Street. And they have asked if we would consider a small, rent supplement of $400 just for expenses and such for January and February. And I think it's more than reasonable. This will provide a way for us to communicate to the community that if it gets cold and below 20, that is a guaranteed spot that's going to be manned. They're going to have a sack lunch and a place to sleep that's warm. So I entertain any questions, but I believe this is something that we have to do, and then I would be in favor of it.
I've got a question, Mike. I know we've talked about this in the past when we brought this up, but how do we notify people? And I remember one of the questions I had before was like 25 degrees is still pretty cold, and it's
and if you
how can we get it open and get people there and let people know we're there?
Well, this plan with going with the Gathering Place will help a lot of that because they're already staffing the facility. They just need to move some of their people from one building to another. So from the point of view of notifying, we went ahead and printed up a bunch of signs where in front of the library, in front of other places that homeless people might gather. Okay. We would say, warming shelter open tonight from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Basically, we're just going to take Presbyterian Church off of that and put Gathering Place, 399 Bourbon, and we'll do the same thing. Put it out in front of public places where people go to warm up.
And last year the discussion was 20 degrees. If y'all want to raise it to 25 degrees, the only difference will be, we'll pay the Gathering Place $12 an hour for up to 2.
Right.
If you want to raise it to 25.
Well, and I'm just for consistency, and maybe one day we'll get there to have something that's seasonal, because obviously temperatures can drop one day to the next, and 30 degrees with wind chill and rain and all these factors make it miserable.
Well, at the meeting we had, the people from Gathering Place said that they wanted to set it at 40, anything below 40, and I said we'd be open 225 days a year. And if that's the way they want to operate, we're paying $288 a day out of county funds for the warming shelter. So if we want to make the level at 40, then that's just a bigger expense from your side of the desk.
So would they open themselves at 40 and then us just subsidize when it gets below that 20? Is that
that's the way we agreed to.
Okay.
But if you all want to change it to 25, 30, that's your prerogative. But right now, what was approved last year was 20.
Well, if they're opening,
I'd like to
that's great.
suggest,
Tim Thompson?
I'd like to suggest when it gets below freezing, 32 degrees, I think that, I understand that we may be utilizing it more, but if it's freezing, then that's pretty bad.
Okay. Kelly Corman?
Oh, no, if they're opening themselves, that's what matters. And
Yeah.
we can help subsidize whatever the temperature is. I'm just glad there's a shelter
Right.
people can.
And I think that a lot of it's going to, kind of come out in the wash because my agency is paying for the decontamination. We fog the Presbyterian Church every morning after the shelter closes. Things that are not part of this agreement with the court is just coming out of my budget.
We have a pretty good line item, I think, for them too, that we donate yearly.
They feed a lot of people and help a lot of people and do some good work. Any questions or comments? And Tim, would you like to make a motion to change it to 32?
I would.
I'll second it.
There's a second from Rick. So the motion would be to open, to fund the gathering place, the warming shelter fee of $12 an hour per staff for anything below 32 degrees, and
that's when people show up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's when.
Yeah, and there'll be people that show, and then they've requested that $400 a month. I think that's very reasonable. So, would that be part of your motion as well for January and February? That's this time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll make one more comment.
Yes, sir.
When we started talking about this a couple of years ago, I'm really happy that we've been able to work out with another organization and us not try to take on the whole project.
I agree.
That's a real blessing.
It's been a hard pull trying to do it with volunteer staff, and like I said, when we had the prediction of 9 degrees and snow, I told my people that it wasn't an option. Somebody was going to staff that shelter that night. So.
But you'll make connection with the gathering place, and we'll also make a big effort to advertise
Yes.
in places where folks that are struggling will be able to see. And then gathering place is already there. They'll communicate as well. So
Correct.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you all. I do want to make a note that on Monday, our non-emergency, non-essential offices are closed for Martin Luther King Day. There's a 3:30 meet and greet at the Krell Student Center with the speaker that's going to be there at 5 o'clock at First Baptist. And then there's a march on College Street in recognition of Martin Luther King Day. So that is on Monday. I'll be there myself. Would encourage you to come and join us after maybe wrap up. So with that said, I have no new business. Is there any new business from any court member?
I got something real quick. So a few years ago, I was sitting up here and a court member kind of went at me, and it was very disrespectful. And the only way to solve that was to apologize in public. It happened in public. A private apology is not necessary. And whether anybody took it this way, I want to apologize to Stacy because I feel like I was disrespectful in what I said to her. So I just want to put that out there. I could tell her afterwards, but I don't think that's fair. I think it's to say it public. It happened publicly. I don't know if I was disrespectful, but I kind of feel like it inside that I should have shown more respect to her.
Friends, I might have taken it.
Well, that's the other thing too, is people don't realize we've been friends for a really, really long time, and sometimes you say things to friends that you wouldn't say something to somebody else. So I apologize if I did anything wrong.
David, thank you. Any other new business? Is there any, Jeff Mudrack?
I'll share one quick thing.
You don't have to apologize to me. It's okay.
No.
Everybody take a turn.
This is Apology Day. Okay. No, I just want to share, as a follow-up to the workshop, there was some news yesterday afternoon. The Supreme Court overturned the decision of the Sixth Circuit Court about the OSHA emergency temporary standards. So we can all breathe a sigh of relief that this, administrative work will not be necessary now. So I'm just wanted to share that with you. But we've also updated our Healthy at Work guidelines. I've worked with Judge Covington. We've been in contact with Dr. Miller. I've shared them with Chris, with John, and JR's looked at them. So we've had some eyes on that. And so we're going to be sharing those later today, as soon as this meeting is over, probably. And then also, the test to stay program we put in place is working pretty well. I've heard some good feedback on that. JR shared some comments yesterday that it's working well in his area. I know that John's used it in a couple of others, and so that's been a good thing. And we've written our Healthy at Work guidelines to work in conjunction with our test to stay program. So I just wanted to share that, and thank
Now,
you.
Jeff, now there's still a window, I mean, the Supreme Court voted against it, but it was kind of on technicality in some ways, right? So, I mean, it could come back.
Well, I suppose, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
right now. I know it's
Like, I didn't feel like it was totally gone yet.
Well, it does. There's one issue, and it has to do with healthcare workers, with Medicare and Medicaid. So it still might affect possibly Chris's area, but hey, that's 40 people versus 330 for us, and I think that's a lot more manageable for us. And Chris and I've already talked about it yesterday afternoon. We're going to stay on top of that, and we'll do whatever it needs to stay in compliance.
All right. Anything else from any court member, staff member? Is there any public comment at this time? We all know you, but would you state your name?
Yeah, because I'm glad you said that, because a lot of what I have to say is not primarily for you all, it's for the public out there watching. So my name is J.R. Williamson, longtime resident. You all have not run me off yet, so I figured I'd stick around a lot longer. And what I've learned this week trying to come here today is that every day changes. Just like today, this gentleman right here spoke about something that he was at a court the other day or a meeting and said, somebody changed something, that's all I'm saying. And I will also start out by, I'll apologize if I offend anybody. It's not my intent. So can I make a couple comments about this thing here?
Mr. Williamson,
well, it's new to me.
We've had a long-standing practice of public comment.
All right.
We do want and hope that the public comment is respectful and
that's my goal.
It is related to an agenda item or an item that the court can address in its power.
I've not yet had the opportunity to meet Mr. Tim Thompson. By the way, I like some of his comments on the baseball thing. His comment about Toyota, I like that because I think if they're going to be a corporate citizen in this community, this is a great opportunity to try to achieve that. The other one was, Alvin, your topic about ground covering, I missed that. What project are we talking about?
The commercial solar farms.
All right.
Cover up huge acreages with solar panels.
Well, see, I didn't hear it, and I don't know if anybody else out there heard it, so thank you for that. What I'm primarily here today is to talk about, I'm going to try to keep on line here, is that the state legislators passed an extension. You all don't want to hear this because you're elected officials. They extended the time to sign up and register to run for office. And I looked through here, and I'm finding out, this is the register, and I went over to the office today. No one since last Friday when the deadline has signed up to run for office since then. And I was hoping that someone out there that, in our society, a lot of people are quitting their jobs, wanting to do something new. Maybe this is an opportunity to somebody out there that hadn't made a choice. Now, am I reading this right? You're resigning? Or you're retiring? Is it true that you're leaving?
No.
Oh, I didn't see your name on here.
Yeah,
this brings up a good point. I was talking to some of them other judge.
I don't know that this is the appropriate place to talk about who's running for. It doesn't pertain to business of the court.
And I tried to preface that. We
all right.
Hope that comment.
I had somebody 4 years ago stand up that ran against me that effectively, well, not effectively, but essentially challenged me during new business, which was wholly inappropriate. And I don't know that conversation about who's running for what and encouraging people to run against specific people or whatever path we're going down is appropriate in public comment. Because this is more about court business than anything else.
I would agree with you, but what I would say is if someone wants to come and state a concern that is related to something that the court has jurisdiction over, I think that's the primary purpose of public comment. And you know, I don't feel like I have the power of censor to ask for comments to be shared prior to a meeting. I have spoken with Mr. Williamson, and you know, what he's going to address, I'm aware of. I'll go back to long-standing practice that I've always had, Mr. Williamson, is served many years as a teacher, as a coach, as a principal, and you're never going to make everybody happy. And when people would come to me with concerns, I always ask, the first thing I ask, you know, Mr. Williamson, have you given such and such a chance to be a part of the solution, or have you gone to them with this concern personally to address it? And you and I talked about this. Told you earlier in the week you have 100% the right to address the court, and you know, if you have concerns about facts and issues that the court can address, you know, then that's your right. This is a public forum, and this is why we have this time on the agenda.
Well, see, when I first started this endeavor, when I was last Friday, when I found out a lot of people weren't running unopposed. Oh, let me get back to one thing first before we go. When the people were out there, I don't know, I don't get this at home. And my suggestion was, and this is a suggestion to you all, that you all can do. Those nameplates across through there, it's hard to see who is who. Now, if somebody's involved in your life, might know who you are. But somebody out here that's looking at you all, I look at us as a team. I look at us as the citizens and the voters as part of a team, and you are like our quarterbacks or whatever, if you want to say. I don't know what district this is up here. I know you all know that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I wish you could put a number up here. It's just a where, oh man, I live in district such and such.
We'll take that on advisement, and we'll see if we can't make it a little bit more easy to read for the public.
Because I asked some people here, and I'm not going to mention that, they didn't even know whose district's what and this, that, and the other. You know, like I would love to know the person that sits on this court, that's district is South Broadway and Ely Alley. Can I ask that question?
Well, certainly.
Who
please know that the website has pictures and list the districts, right. And you know, I think we've upgraded our website to make it much more transparent and much more readily usable by the public.
All right, I look around this room right here, and I'm probably going to say I'm the oldest person in this room. And our generation not is, what's the word, adequate of being able to use those type of things. Can I once get my question answered? Which one of you all sits on this body that is voted by the people of South?
Tim Thompson does.
Tim?
Yes,
sir.
All right. Nice to meet you. Can we have a conversation
Yes,
someday?
sir. I hope so. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Because one of my biggest pet peeves, and I keep hearing that this is the county government, and that's the city government, and you can't talk about the city, and this, that, and the other. But I guess I'm going to try to use this.
I don't think anybody said we can't talk about the city.
He said
I just said it's a city facility. We won't expend money on it. It's a city facility cared for by Parks and Rec, which is an interlocal agreement.
I'm not up here to play tennis, really. I'm sorry. I really don't. I'm just trying. It's almost like I'm trying to somehow or another do a civics class, because I wasn't real good at it when I went to school. And I was talking to some of the people earlier. I think civics ought to be taught in the 11th or 12th grade, right before people can be of age to vote. Because in my opinion, voting is extremely important. I've talked to you all about the issue that I have an issue with. But you all say you can't do anything with it. What I'm trying to do here today is to wake up our society that we have a large responsibility as voters to vote. That's the only power we have. Once we put our faith into you all, and I'll be real honest with you, our hands are tied pretty much. I'll be honest with you. Every time I walk up here, I've got 5 grandchildren, and I'm trying to make a world.
I would like to.
Go ahead.
like this court and this office is as responsive. We are here 8:30 to 4:30. We have a whole team of people that are responsive. When you say once you put us in office, your hands are pretty tied, I would suggest to you that this court and these magistrates and our constitutional officers and our team of directors are as responsive and go out of our way to address concerns and meet the needs of the community. When people call us, it's how can we help?
Okay.
And that's my approach to government, and I believe that's what this body's approach and these constitutional officers are. So I would tell you that the citizens' hands aren't tied. Pick up the phone and call us. Come see us. And we are here, and we go out of our way to try to do that. And our magistrates get calls all the time. They get emails. We communicate. JR goes and addresses things. Mike goes and addresses things. It is a fluid, never-ending process. So,
what is the specific need? I guess I haven't heard anything yet. What do you want?
Can I real quick on what Judge? I think this a fantastic example are the baseball, the group of baseball and softball that showed up today.
Yeah.
That wanted to see a change.
All right.
And within days, that was done to allow them access. So I think sometimes we as people, as individuals, and sometimes we as elected officials live in a bubble, and we don't always see everything that's going on. I know I'm that way sometimes, that I will question things, but I don't realize what's going on in the background. I know I see Chad's social media, I see Dwayne's, Kelly's, Alvin's, and we're always reaching out to people. I'm on the HOA pages and the neighborhood watch pages for my district, and I'm constantly getting emails or putting things out there saying, hey, if you've got a street light out, let me know. I'll get it reported and follow up on it. Let's get our neighborhoods lit as possible, make them safe as possible. There are all kinds of things that we do that you will never, ever, ever, ever know about. There are meetings that we're going to. There are committees that we serve on within Scott County specifically or within Frankfort that help Scott County. But you don't know that because we don't always publicize that. And those are things, when we do those things, they specifically take away, for those of us that are magistrates, specifically take away from our job time, our careers. And luckily, we have bosses that will allow us to go out and do that. And so I think there's a lot of stuff that occurs that you may not see us, like I'm not your magistrate. I don't know that the only time I ever see you is here, is when you come to speak. And that's okay, but you have no idea what we do outside of the office or at night or on the weekends or anything like that. So what you see is not always reality. Sometimes what you see is a little different than what is actually happening. So the hands tied, that's absolutely not true.
Let me retract that then. So in other words, you're telling me that you do, I'm educating myself here, right? And I'm hoping to educate people out there. So you're in your district entirely inside the city limits of Georgetown?
Yes, sir.
All right, so briefly give me a minute here. So when I ask about the city things, you do deal with the city because your constituents asked you to call the city to get things done. Is that correct?
They will call me and I will reach out to the road department, public works, things like that. But I have no say-so on getting a building fixed or anything like that.
All right, good. So that's good to know. Now that people out there know that if it is a city issue, they can call you as a government elected official. Good. I'm trying to get it out there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, for those out there that don't know, I worked in this county for 21 and a half years being your solid waste coordinator. Worked in this building. And I guess some of my frustration is, as you say, oh, we do this, we do that. So I will challenge you, Judge, in the court. I've asked you, can you all, this is something you can do. Can you guarantee me that whoever in the city, in this thing here, will look at budgeting South Broadway and Ely Alley water problem, flooding issues. Now you said to throw something.
JR, I can tell you, yes, 100% that I will coordinate with the city and ask them about how budgetary conversations are going to go in regards to stormwater and those concerns on Broadway and Ely Alley specifically. So I'll reach out to the mayor, and the proper protocol is to reach out to the mayor that there's a concern from a citizen that came to me. Mayor, I'm asking you to, communicating to you that concern came, and, how can it be addressed?
So can I ask if Mr. Thompson be involved in that, being that's his constituents?
Well, 1,000%.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I hope you'll take the challenge. I've been working on this.
Have you spoke to the mayor?
The present mayor?
Yeah.
Oh, multiple times.
Okay, I don't know that. So.
I've been fighting this, sir, since 1992.
Gotcha. Okay.
My parents lived on right there at the corner of Rooker Avenue, right across from Garden. In 1992, 3 automobiles washed out of their driveway. One of them happened to be mine. It's sitting on top of my mom. They didn't have flood insurance. Can't get flood insurance in that part. So you all making me be longer than I planned. So, so what I'm trying to say is, I got a thing here. If you all watched the news this morning, what did the Queen, and you're going to say, what's that got to do with us? If you look at the stock market, it's got a whole lot to do with us over here. She denounced her son. And I was going to change it. I had my title here. It was going to be opportunity. Well, you know what? I changed it today. It's actions have consequences. And I tried it. Right here I put in here that, and I'll skip a couple. The landfill closure, which is going to affect all of it. You say, what's that got to do with it? We closed it. We did this. I stood up here in front of this thing. I sat in this courtroom and listened to Warren Powers over here and Charlie Perkins over here, mouthing back and forth to themselves. I'm trying to be calm. I've got road rage. My wife wrote, stay calm.
Drop something.
Yeah. Well, that's something you probably don't want to hear either. So anyway, I looked at that. I stopped solely, believe it or not, stopped Lexington Cartage from building a trucking operation out here over top of our drinking water. A lot of people in this community probably doesn't even know that industrial park out here on Lemons Mill is right over top of our drinking water. Do you know what I found out this week? That there's a brand new trucking operation that's going to be put out there. FedEx. So I went to planning and zoning. I said, I hope to goodness that you're putting enough retention ponds. See, I tell people that, can I tell a few jokes while I'm going along? Already, well, never mind.
I would ask you to cut to the chase.
Okay, cut to the chase. I went to planning and zoning.
Be directive.
Be direct. All right, I'll be direct.
What's the concern and what are the facts to it?
Okay. Facts is that they put a trucking operation out there after I already defeated one. You know what? Here's what I went to planning and zoning. Can't change it. Can't stop it. But I said, I hope that someone in this office will put enough catch basin in here to take any runoff off of this property. And I go so far. Let's say this building catches on fire and all the products inside of it, who knows what, hopefully they're not shipping liquids. But do you know plastics and everything, once they catch on fire, they liquefy and run in. So that's the type of things that I do behind the scenes as a citizen that you're not aware of. So the point being, I'm not trying to be rude, so I tried to stop that. And all I'm saying, I said it earlier this morning, we the people need to keep an eye on the ball. We need to keep you all accountable. How open door you are or whatever, it is our responsibility as voters to make sure you do your job. So that's why I appreciate this opportunity to speak to primarily the people out there that's watching this. Hopefully somebody's watching it. And that's all I'm saying. Is what we're asking you all to do is be a teammate of ours. You know, be glad that people want to walk up here and voice our concerns with you all. Because if you think I had somebody the other day, I'm not going to mention their name, asked me if somebody would have a crystal ball. And I said, no, they're not supposed to have a crystal ball. They're supposed to have enough awareness and keep their ear to the ground. You know, and I'm gonna try to be quick. All right, but you tell me I shouldn't tell people the phone number over here, so hopefully it's on the website about the election. If you want to run for office, there's a number to call. All right, there's several.
I didn't say that.
All right.
So hold on, time out. I didn't say that.
Oh.
That's not what I said. I didn't say that at all.
Well, that's the way I took it. So,
but the way you take it and what I actually say is two different things.
All right.
Ms. Hamilton didn't feel like I offended her, but I felt like I may have offended her, so I apologize. So, you know, the way you take it, I never said you can't call. My phone number's out there.
No, you misunderstood what I said. I didn't know if I could tell people they could call this office across the hall and give the phone number out if they wanted to run for office. You told me I didn't need to get up here and tell people to run for office.
No,
all right,
I just said we don't need to talk about who's running for office and what's available, and that's there. If we want to have a public forum, and that's okay, but that's not county
Can I
business.
give them the number?
Oh, I don't care.
Election office number's on the 3rd floor. The extension for running for election is the 25th of this month at 4 o'clock. Is that correct? All right, thank you. The number is 502-863-7875. And I hope that you can just push extension 5. Can they go straight to extension 5 and get it? And don't have to listen to the phone tree? So that's how you can do that if you choose to. We've got to win. This is a rare opportunity for our community or the citizens that the deadline came, it went. And does anybody know why? Why did the legislators extend it?
Because they didn't have redistricting done. They didn't have redistricting finished, so they had to extend it. That's
all right.
The census numbers did not come in until late September.
All right.
They usually come in the beginning of August. Therefore, they were unable to get redistricting, which is why we're not going to redistrict as a court until 2023, because our numbers did not come in time to be able to redistrict and get everything districted. It would be too confusing for filing, so we decided to leave the districts as, by state law, leave it as it is, so that it would not confuse folks that want to run for office, because they couldn't figure out what district they were in if we changed them all up.
All right, so thank you for that, and I hope that helps some of the people out there. Okay, I'm finishing.
So the filing deadline's been extended.
All right,
I would ask you again to be specific and address your concern, and just to, you know, we've got a lot of people here, and a lot of people got work to do.
Wow. Okay, excuse me. Anyway, won't mention a whole lot, being I'm standing inside the city of Georgetown. I'm going to say that the mayor's regs is extremely important in this community, so people give a lot of thought to that. I'm going to be brief on what I was going to say because people don't want to. Never mind. Still, my pet peeve is the illegality. All right, let me finish. Here's what I'm going to say. I'll leave it at this. I'm going to say this. When Donna Perry was in office, your dad was in office, I was accustomed to seeing that elected official in the office. All I'm saying is that nowadays things are different. You know, like I'm sitting there, things are different and things change. When I grew up in this community, can I give a history lesson a little bit? No. All right. So all I'm saying is I've made it aware that if you get elected, I just ask you to serve, put in your time. I put in my time. And I hope I haven't offended anybody. I hope when I retired, somebody gave me a plaque one time. It said, some people are here to do this, that, and the other, and you apparently awaken people. My personality. So all I asked is, we, the voters, have more power than we usually generate. If that makes sense. Thank you, and you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.